Hello, nerds. Just setting up the live stream here to build some Legos. And our pal James Thompson should be by as always. Give me a second here with my setup here. I don't have the nice fancy way that Dan and others have to have a holding screen in place. It's just live or not, and then I have to send the link out to people. Bear with me. All right, I have sent the link out to various places. It's possible people will now be able to find and join this. Swing over to my Lego setup. So today I will be continuing my build of Lion Knight Castle. You can see how much of it I've built here so far. Feeling pretty good about it. Again, I've spoken at length about how delightful a build this is, and just it's very enjoyable. It's both, I think, a very visually satisfying structure, and the way it sits, it builds up is delightful. So here it is in kind of play stand mode versus display castle mode, and I'm going to work on bags 12 and 13 today, which I'm pretty sure are going to be kind of the roof and battlement for this final stage. This is kind of like a wing of the castle, and then I know that next to it from the box is like the main entry gate with a drawbridge and portcullis and things like that. If you are watching this and are able to chime in the chat and let me know if my audio and video are working okay, that is always appreciated. But I'm going to open up bag 12 here and get started after I fix the thing I just broke. Got my little Dungeon Master screen here, in part to give you a nice little visual backdrop, but also to keep my Lego pieces from falling off the back of my table and into a inconveniently located heating vent. So bag 12, as I open up here, seeing a lot of the same piece over and over again. These little guys, which I assume are basically ye old-timey roofing tiles that I'll be putting in place over this little cottagey structure at the top of my castle. Discarding my bags. Okay. White piece here, gray piece, and dropping it in.
Hello.
Hi, James. Just getting started. I was just talking about which bags I was opening. How are you doing?
Well, you know how you and I are normally 5 hours apart?
Is it a different number of hours right now? Because of
it is 4 hours. So when I got your message saying I'm just going to go live, I was like, yeah, but we're not going live for another hour.
You know, I did send a message that said, 4 o'clock is roughly 2 hours. Thinking about that.
But when you said that it's going to be about 2 hours, you said it at half past the hour.
Was it that late into the hour? And I said about, which is not a great way to talk about time.
So it totally seemed to make sense that it was. Anyway, I am here.
Everything's great.
I ducked out of the other call that I was in, and I was like, no, I have to go.
Is what we're doing that important?
It is important. This castle needs to be built.
All right. I believe I am today going to finish there are 2 instruction manuals, and I am anticipating finishing the first instruction manual today, which I believe will get me, is effectively the halfway point. I feel somewhat bad that you ducked out of anything, let alone some kind of scheduled call.
But I made a solemn promise to be here.
Did you? Was it solemn?
Well, something. Yes. Well, this has been an exciting weekend.
I'm sorry, I did not mean to make it exciting. I will tell you, I also the time change messed me up a little bit. I could not even tell you what did we do today? Or I guess you didn't. What did I do today? Did I sprung forward? I don't even really know what that means right now.
I think, I don't know.
I don't know.
Because we were discussing the D&D that is coming up, or not
Yes.
coming up, as the case may be. And I was thinking, oh, I'll need to make sure to, when I put that into the calendar, to make sure that it's at the right time in case there's any weird time zone things. But I didn't realize that had already happened. So,
Well, it literally just happened. So,
wow.
Yeah. I had a podcast for me first thing in the morning, which is not that first in the morning, but I'm unemployed, people. So yeah, and it was like I don't actually know what time it is, but I set an alarm on my clock on my phone to be here because I have no idea what time it actually is. So yeah. Well, fun cultural differences abound. Why do we change times at different times? That makes no sense.
I don't know. There was also when I was working as a sysadmin, there was a point where all the Sun workstations we had changed on US time, and there was no way to like fix it. So
you just kind of lived with it for a week or two.
Yeah. So for a week or two, it was just chaos, and then we were like, we're working on it. We'll fix the problem. And then a week later,
we're like, the problem has fixed itself, thankfully.
Yeah. Yeah. So my excitement of yesterday was I was going to see my parents, and we do COVID tests before going to see my parents, and just as a kind of matter of course, because they're 79. And I did a test, and normally what I do is I take a picture of the tests and I send them to my mother in a passive aggressive way, in a sort of, now it's your turn to take a test. And I didn't have my glasses on. I just took a picture and I stuck them in the bin. And I thought I should probably look at the test. So I looked at the photo, zoomed in, and I was like, there's a faint line on that test.
Oh, God.
And it's like the faintest of faint lines, but it was definitely a line.
Definitely a line.
But I don't know if the line was there, like if it was a manufacturing fault or whatever.
Because you don't have a before.
Yeah. And so I was like, well, I guess I'm not doing that. And I did another test, and the test was negative. And I did another test today, and it was negative. So I feel fine. But
you don't know what to do.
I don't know what to do. It was just like, I've never had that experience of there's something there.
Or is there?
Or is there?
Yeah.
And everything online I could see said, well, even if you see the faintest of line, you should take that as a positive test. And I couldn't see anybody saying, yes, but sometimes there's a little join in the test strip or something that occurs. Because it was literally, I could not see it without my glasses on. So that kind of like yesterday was a wash.
I imagine gave you a bit of a jolt of adrenaline.
Yes.
Yeah.
Especially because I would probably not have looked at the test, and then I just a voice in the back of my head said,
you should look at this.
Look at this.
That is in part the point of taking it, right? Yeah.
Yes. Well, I looked at it. I just didn't look at it with eyes that could like resolve detail.
Oh, James.
Yeah. So yesterday was kind of like spent sitting on the sofa, going, "Oh,
what do I do with myself? Am I alled to go anywhere? What does this mean?" No, it's tricky. I forget if I've already told you the story. People need to tell me when to stop telling stories I've told before. I've reached that age, people. A couple weeks or short number of months back, my brother had just returned to the country after a lot of travel, and there was kind of going to be a small family gathering at my parents' house, and my brother we tested, I guess, early in the day, and then headed over to my parents. My parents live in the Boston area, but about 30 minutes away from me, because that's how the Boston area works. And we received a text on the way to them, being, Devin is a faint line, turn around, and so we're not doing anything. And so it turned around. But it was that like, it was like, I'm in transit. What do I do? And the answer is go home. But
Yeah.
and then it's like I guess I'm at home now. I don't know. I'm not great at pivoting, so it's like, all right, now I have to figure out what to do with the rest of my day. So um, yeah,
Yeah. So
yeah.
today was slightly more productive. And yeah, I don't think there's anything wrong with me, but I don't want to like just my denial to use my
Hmm.
denial to sort of carry through this. Well, it was clearly I am the one person in the universe that got a test that was
Yeah.
broken.
Mm. Well,
Um,
I'm glad you're not feeling any symptoms or anything. That's the key thing, I guess.
yeah. Um, I mean, I guess that is the key thing. And I am, of course, just braced awaiting symptoms, but who
I
knows?
suspect if you haven't felt anything at this point, you're probably pretty good, and
Yeah, I
but
probably just had
knock on wood. So
one particle of COVID up my nose at a
yeah,
particular point where I took a test.
why would you do that, James? Stop snorting COVID. We've had this conversation before. Um, it's causing so many problems.
Uh, yeah. Um, so other than that, I'm trying to think what I've done with the last. When did we last do one of these? It
We
wasn't that
literally
long
did one a week ago. I'm unemployed. I have a lot of free time. So it's like, I've had one of those weeks where it's like, my apartment's real tidy, lots of things are figured out, plenty of time to set aside, an hour and a half to build some Legos on the weekend instead of my normal, oh, this is time to get things done time. So yeah.
Well, I am employed notionally by
You work for a
myself.
horrible taskmaster though.
I do.
Yeah.
But my time is pretty flexible.
Yeah.
It's when we've been trying to schedule D&D, there's kind of like a spectrum of people who are like, I can do like a window of an hour on
Mhm.
this particular day.
And you're like, I can do whenever.
And it's like, just tell me when
Yeah,
to
just
do
tell me
it.
when to show up, people. Um, so yeah, I mean, I think some people, I don't have very many scheduled hobbies other than other D&D. I will so peek behind the scenes. There's theoretically going to be multiple total party kill events this week. I think only with no Erica would be an overlap of a player, but and me as the dungeon master, but we had to reschedule something. There was a brief moment where I did not realize I had scheduled stuff without, with basically just looking, was I available? And James, I had scheduled myself for 4 Dungeons and Dragons sessions this coming week. um, so I'm not too heartbroken that one of them is not happening until the following week. I'll be fine. um, but yeah.
Yeah,
Um,
you should probably stop saying yes to
I just
things.
needed to, and some of them are things where, guess what, the Tuesday night group, they're challenging to get together sometimes, and sometimes we only play once a month. So it's like, if you got a Tuesday that everyone that all it all lines up, you take that Tuesday, even if that means you're doing a bunch of other stuff on other times. So
Yeah, and
yeah.
I can't remember when we did our last session of the
I looked it up. So
press
this
run.
is a continuation of a session, the Candlekeep Adventures from Candlekeep Mysteries, which are in general, they're a little bit of a mixed bag, but in general, delightful. This is an adventure that we started in October of 2022, and then I had a health crisis and was in the hospital and took an extended period of time off from running D&D or doing anything. And then then scheduling it was challenging. So yes, we are in March playing session 2 of an adventure that we started 100 years ago. So yeah.
I didn't mean to laugh there when you said I had a health crisis.
Oh
It
no, it's
was,
fine. I'm good. I survived. You know.
uh, but yeah, so it's one of those things where you have people dotted around the US
Mhm.
and
And there's time
other
zone
territories.
challenges. Schedule. I mean, you have very flexible and do stay up late for us. Pretty ridiculously so, but it is challenging to schedule an activity that includes people from uh, Scotland and people from the Pacific or from Pacific Standard Time. So
Yes.
that's it's non-trivial. Spend a lot of time in Doodle, people. That is the kind of the worst part of Dungeons and Dragons, and people who've played Dungeons and Dragons know this, is that scheduling is always a nightmare. And in some ways, doing it online makes it a little easier because you don't have to figure out travel times and things like that. I have one group that moved online at the start of the pandemic, and like we actually play more consistently gathering people over Zoom than trying to play in person when some of the people had significant travel time to get to where we were. But it's still challenging if people have jobs,
Well,
hobbies,
I mean,
families.
some people have like children and lives. And
Yeah, whatever.
clearly, we need to have a group which is entirely composed of people who have none of these things.
Yeah, James, that's you and me, and I don't know who else that is. So,
yeah, okay.
Yeah.
It might be a small group, but
Yep, just you and me. Oh well.
I'm sure I can do all those heists just by myself.
So I did on Friday night. I ran the start of the first heist from Keys from the Golden Vault, which is this new heist series of heist adventures that Wizards of the Coast have published. And it only one session in, we played a couple hours, but so far it seems really good. I feel like Wizards of the Coast learns a little bit more about what goes into a good published adventure with each iteration, and that's good. Not everybody learns from things. I know that kind of published adventures, I think, had a pretty bad rep in the olden days, and everyone was like, nah, they're rubbish, do it yourself. I will say, as somebody starting out dungeon mastering 15-ish years ago, is it that long? Oh god, I need Dan here to correct the timeline. Having published adventures is very helpful as a starting point. I never run an adventure exactly as it's written in the book. Stuff happens that's not going to fit with that, and B, I try to revise stuff, and sometimes I delete things, and I add in new NPCs, or I take an NPC and I try and make them have a more engaging personality, or what have you. So but having an adventure to kind of build off of is nice. And I will tell you, for these for a heist adventure, I think that would be particularly daunting to kind of create whole cloth out of thin air, because they're basically like, there's a hook, right? And they literally in the text of the adventure call it a MacGuffin. There's a thing they need to steal, and then they give you a bunch of information about where it needs to get stolen from. So, the first adventure, I won't say anything spoilery, but the first adventure involves a heist from a museum, right? And most of the adventure as written is really just like a description of like, here's the layout of the museum, and here's what happens in the different rooms, and here's the security precautions, and here's the guard patrol, and here's the personalities of 10 different guards. And it does not have any assumption that it's like, this is what they're going to do to get to win this adventure. So I will say the first session, it was basically the adventure that they were recruited to a secret society. They were presented with like, this is the thing we need you to steal, and why it's really important that it gets stolen. And then they went to the museum, and they spent a bunch of time scouting the museum, and they did some things that were like, let's just walk around the museum and look at stuff. And one person pretended to be like a visiting, basically museum inspector, but a visiting scholar from another place, concerned about were the security methods of the museum up to snuff, and therefore got a demonstration of how good the security was. And then the session ended, and the next session is like, they're gonna do the heist. And I'm kind of anticipating that next session being like, I'm just gonna sit back and you all tell me what you're gonna do, because I don't know how this is gonna go. So I hope to bring those to Total Party Kill sometime soon.
I look forward to playing that in 2024.
I am a little concerned about, will they make for good podcasting, just because I think it is a little bit harder to collaborate, and it's the tricky thing of like, how much are you planning a heist in person versus trying to solve a puzzle just as players, and there is you've got a blueprint of the the location, so that's a very visual component that maybe doesn't translate perfectly to podcasting. But I'm certainly willing to try it. So yeah.
I think you'd mentioned that it could be a Gribbets type.
Yeah. So for folks who don't know, there is our Dragon Friends, which is a very enjoyable Australian D&D podcast where Australian comedians play D&D and are rather profane and hilarious because they're comedians. They actually it's an official Wizard of the Coast thing. These adventures where you work for a goblin named Gribbets, and we ran one of these for Total Party Kill, and they're just, I think in part because it's the Dragon Friends flavor, and in part just what we impose on it. They're a little bit more shenanigan, and the stakes are a little less altruistic. So that could work well with Heist in terms of like you're stealing stuff because you like stealing. So
Yeah.
I will tell you in the adventures, they you don't have to use this. They give you multiple adventure hooks. In the book, the Golden Vault so the book is called Keys from the Golden Vault. The Golden Vault is a secret society, and they are kind of what's the best way to describe them? They're like a secret society that's like saving the world without getting credit for it over and over again. So that part is a little incompatible with the ethos of Gribbets.
Well, I mean,
you all are not exactly save the world type of folks.
Yeah,
that is where all your stuff is.
We might successfully steal the thing and doom the world.
So
so then you wouldn't have to run any more adventures. But
yeah, you guys are all dead.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I will just be happy to play any D&D, and we will do that in a couple of weeks. So
I forget. Has it been a while since you have gotten to play any D&D?
It has been since
October. Oh gosh,
since October.
I'm so sorry.
Look, I blame your gallbladder not.
Yeah, I will never let that happen again because it can't happen again. So I'm now protected against that.
But no, that is not your fault that I have not played any D&D. It's like, I mean, I could probably have sought out one of the other Total Party Kill.
There are occasionally other people running other games, so I don't have a monopoly on it.
But they tend to do them at like
less Scotland compatible times.
Yes, and it's like, while I'm willing to stay up to a certain point in time, it's like if the start time is 1 a.m. I feel no, that is unlikely to. I mean, I would probably do it, but I don't think it would be approved of in this household.
In the household, there'd be repercussions. So
yes. Other than that, I mean, it's been a fairly quiet week.
All right, that was a very fast build because it was pretty repetitive. Just building little thatched roof after thatched roof.
Yeah, it comes together quite nicely.
Yeah. Hey, I don't know what the significance of the little yellow and green are. They like banners or something?
They look like the kind of
Is that
banner.
Local sports team in the castle is yellow and green?
That's not the kids' bedroom.
It is the kids' bedroom. Because they're on the other side. Because remember, they go together, right?
Oh, yeah,
so on the other side is little kid
castle
and his little yellow Lego castle that he's building. Yeah, I don't totally understand the layout of the. It's a Lego castle. There is an insufficient number of rooms in that it's like banquet hall with two chairs and a piano. Kitchen and one bedroom.
So what I'm hearing is you don't think this castle is big enough.
I mean, I just think that they don't have a bunch of rooms that could be any function is what I'm saying.
I feel it should be a modular castle system where you can buy additional castle bits.
All right, I am rolling right along. I think that took me less than like about 20 minutes maybe, and opening up bag 13, which starts with building some kind of archer. There are a bunch of, I assume these are trees. They are, I mean, they're Lego trees. I don't know if they will be used as trees or if they'll be used as like, I don't know what else they could be, drill bits or something, but this one comes with a small animal. I am not entirely sure what manner of
Uh,
creature this
is it
is.
a lamb?
I was gonna guess lamb too. It's very small, and so I was like, "Is it a dog or a cat?" Because I just saw a little white quadruped, but the ears and the snout and the little tail kind of suggests
Yeah,
lamb
the
to me, and it's small to be a sheep, right? So
your
um,
camera refuses to focus on it,
I
but
know. I'm sorry. It I don't know if this camera has. I don't know if I don't think Zoom wants to support a macro setting on the camera. So, all
yeah.
right, I'm gonna leave that little fellow there for now. We've got this lovely little archer, and I do, the minifigs are delightful. They are different than the castle minifigs of old, but they're like inspired by it with more detail, right? Like,
Mm.
I feel like the classic old castle lion knight minifig would have just been red with a little blue and yellow lion crest, but this fellow has like a little thing around his neck where you can see his chainmail, and then he's got relatively detailed pants. So they've kind of, the technology has improved, and with it, Legos have improved too. So let me just open my tiny bag full of bits that I will try not to drop all over the floor.
Well, that's what the Dungeon Master's shield is for.
I feel like I have nothing exciting to say about my week, James, because unemployed. I watched some good science fiction this week. Last of Us is almost done, which is sad. Particularly good episode of Picard this week. Some Mandalorian, some Bad Batch.
Yeah,
That's my week.
I haven't been watching The Last of Us because I roughly know the story from the games, even though I didn't
Mhm.
play the games, and I didn't feel that I was in the headspace for, end of the
I mean,
world.
every week is like, let's meet either the worst people in the world or the best people in the world, and bad stuff is about to happen to them.
That
I
was
mean,
kind of what I expected.
yeah, I mean, it's very good. I enjoy it, but it's not. It's usually not uplifting, feel good vibes. So, yeah.
I
Um,
mean, well, I say that, but I've just been reading a book, or a series of books, and the first one was called The Jasmine Throne,
mhm.
and the second one is The Oleander Sword, both by Tasha Suri, and they are. It's basically set in a land where there is a kind of fungus-like plague
Oh no,
spreading and
why?
infecting people, um, and but it's a like an Indian inspired fantasy setting,
Oh,
magic
very
and
cool.
things. It's very good. And I made the fatal mistake of starting a series that hasn't been finished yet.
Yes. I've only done that a couple times, and I mean, sometimes it's if the series ends, it's okay, but it is painful to wait years and years for books, even when they are from people like Dan Morin or the Expanse books, etc.
So yeah, I read the first two in the space of a week, and the second one ends on a pretty no spoilers, but it's
Mhm.
not like it's a very Empire Strikes Back
Yeah.
kind of feel to it, and
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 you,
now
you
I now I have to wait a year.
and you watch a decent amount of Bollywood movies and things like that, right?
Yeah, I mean, I haven't watched anything for a little while.
Mhm.
Ironically, the person that I was on the call with earlier is
Oh.
who I've been watching those with, but I kind of fell out of it a bit. I mean, partially because I haven't been in a physical cinema for
Oh, okay. So
years.
so you were specifically going places to see them.
Yeah,
I assume that's somewhat special to, like, that's not a thing I think you can easily do here in the Boston area, or maybe I'm just ignorant to it. I don't think it's common that you can go and see a Bollywood movie.
I think that there's a
Mm.
large enough sort of Indian and Pakistani
Mhm.
immigrant community in Glasgow. I mean, I say immigrant, who they've been here for
And
decades. So
do you have more kind of independent movie theaters too, or would these be playing like at
no,
a chain?
this would be like in your sort of 18 screen megaplex
Really?
type
Wow.
thing,
Okay.
you would probably have 1 or 2 Bollywood films.
I feel like our 18 screen megaplexes have nothing like I mean, so I feel like you'd have to go to an independent theater to see something like that, and even they would only have kind of maybe if it was something that was like a big deal, right?
Mm.
I mean, I remember going to see not obviously not a Bollywood movie, but Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon had a limited US release, right? And you had to go at least at first to the independent theaters to see it, and they had
Mm.
like I remember seeing like a big warning sign that's like, this movie has subtitles, please be aware of that. With the implied like, we don't want to give you your money back if you you sign up and go to see the movie and are unhappy of the format that it's in. So
I
yeah.
I w- I once when I think it was The Last Jedi, and there's the frenzy around tickets go on sale for the
Hmm.
midnight first screening, whatever. So I kind of leapt into the site for this cinema and got really good, surprisingly good seats for this midnight showing. And I think it was like the next day I was looking at the ticket, at least the
Hmm.
email with the ticket, and it talked about it being the subtitled for the deaf version of the movie, which I had accidentally bought the tickets in that screening. And one of the party who was due to come with us said, "I'm not going to see that with
Oh.
subtitles." And it was
Oh.
like, okay, fine. If you're listening to this, Martin, I forgive you. But it was just the kind of like, I mean, it was fine. It's like
Hmm.
these days when I'm watching television, 90% of the time I have subtitles on
Yeah.
anyway,
Yeah, my hearing is
because
not great.
my hearing is not great, but also the mixes in
And the
every
mixes,
modern
yeah,
show
I mean
is
that is what I'm going to say,
awful.
but also I think my hearing's just not great. And I don't have a fancy, I don't, I assume, I don't know how much it is that the mix is awful slash the mix is awful, and I don't have a good audio setup at home, so I'm not, like it's particularly awful for my setup. But I don't know, I'm willing to be told that it's just, oh, you're just old. But
I
you
think
know.
if you have a regular television, a nice one that you bought, and it's not, you can't understand what people are saying on the television, I
It's
don't
not
think
just me.
it's not just you.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway,
I'm all about being told that it's not that I'm old. So yeah.
I think there was a joke right at the start of Last Jedi where the uh General Hux was being referred
Yes.
to as General
General
Hugs.
Hugs. Yes.
And that is a joke that we got because we could see the subtitle, and I know a
Uh
lot of people missed that on first viewing. Anyway, I don't have a problem with subtitles, and it's like I can like take in the movie and read the subtitles as I need to or whatever.
mhm.
Um, but yeah, I remember going to some of the Bollywood films, and it's always the wonderful thing of like I would be sitting in there with my friend, and you see, like, we were in there first, and then you
Mhm.
see a procession of people come in, see us sitting there, look confused, turn around and go out
And then
because
come back in.
they're assuming that they were in the wrong.
What are these white people doing here?
I mean, it was 100%. And then you'd get questions, and it was like,
Mhm.
can you understand this? And I'm like, it's subtitled. Also,
Mhm.
half of it's in English, but
Mhm.
it's
Yeah.
subtitled. So yeah, that's always fun. But I mean, I keep trying to make people watch Bollywood films for The Incomparable, like, because some of them are fabulous, some of them are very strange, but it's like an entire continent of movies.
Yeah.
There is a wide variety of
Yeah.
things.
You don't say as someone who has watched a decent amount of anime, it's tricky there where it's like anime is not really a genre. Like there's a lot of stuff in it. Oh no, I have dropped a tiny gray Lego that I am probably not going to find in this recording. Oh well. We'll see if that was critical or not. Hopefully not a load bearing one. I will just I guess just coincidentally last night it's not a Bollywood movie because it's made in a different part of India, but on Netflix there's the movie RRR, and I watched the first half of that last night. It's very long and it's 3 hours and there's an intermission,
Yes.
which I appreciate. So we watched to the intermission, and you know, if you want Tony's review of a movie he has seen half of, I'll tell you I enjoyed it. It's basically it's like a Marvel movie in terms of it's like a giant spectacular, and there's CGI fight set pieces, but also there's musical numbers. So
Yeah,
yeah.
I mean, I have the long movie with an intermission is a fairly common thing, and like, you know, the sort of like size of a Endgame or whatever, where you're
Mhm.
talking 3+ hours, but there is a nice intermission for, you know, 15 minutes or whatever.
Yeah, we almost never do that. I think I did see one Quentin Tarantino movie, The Hateful Eight, had again, I think you know, I saw it in like an independent theater, and there they did have an intermission. I don't think I don't know how it would have been played at kind of more mainstream commercial movie places, but I don't know. Again,
I,
as an old person, which makes some people who are older than me furious when I say that. I appreciate it.
I will tell you about a movie a Bollywood movie that I've seen, which I do not think is good, but I think it is worth watching.
Tell me more.
So it's called Love Story 2050,
Hmm.
and it's the first like hour and a half of the movie is your standard, you know, boy meets girl, falls instantly in love, courtship, blah 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 blah. At about the hour and a half mark, she is, spoilers, killed in a traffic accident. And you go, oh, this is so sad. This, you know, we've had this whole
Hmm.
romance story, and you know, it has a tragic end. It is then revealed that our protagonist's grandfather has a time machine.
Oh God.
And you think, well, you've got a time machine, so you will go back in time and you will, you know, prevent this traffic accident from
Hmm.
happening. Makes sense.
Hmm.
No, our protagonist says, no, I shall travel into the future, into 2015, and find her reincarnated self.
Oh wow.
I was like, okay.
That's
And
that's a
he
form of problem solving.
travels into the future. She has indeed been reincarnated as the biggest pop star um, in
I
this
assume
future world.
played by the same actor.
Yes.
Of course,
And
conveniently. It's very tricky when people get reincarnated into a non-identifiable form. That's you know, that's
and
challenging.
then like it sort of becomes a mix of the Terminator, Star Wars, AI, and a whole bunch of things. And the none of this is in the first half of the movie. And I was just kind of like, as soon as people were like, basically, I think there was effectively a lightsaber fight. I'm thinking, what is going on here? This is so wild. As a like, we're just going to commit to the bit for the first half of the movie, and then the second half of the movie is going to be our sci-fi spectacular. I need to watch it again because I've probably oversold it. But there's a lot of movies like that where,
Mhm.
um, you know, it doesn't necessarily do what you think it's going to do.
Yeah.
And yes, there are also musical numbers in the middle, or you know, and it's fun. A lot of the movies are just kind of interesting, fun little things. And like there's one that's, you know, it's basically sort of a Mission Impossible style crime heisty caper
Mhm.
movie that also has songs. And which is Doom 2, by the way, for those listening who are definitely going to
What was
look
the
up.
name of Can you say that a little louder?
It was Doom 2, and that's DHOOM,
Okay.
not
Not
the
not DOO.
id Software
Yeah,
first person shooter.
got it. That
Uh,
was my confusion.
you do not need to have watched Doom 1. Trust me
Okay.
on this. And I just love those things. But anyway, I haven't seen anything for a while, and I probably should. I think the next thing I'm probably going to see in the cinema is the D&D movie.
I have heard. Sorry, I'm doing the look on my floor for the missing Lego piece stage. Oh, you know what? I think I found it here. I thought it was a specific piece I needed, but I found it. So I'll delay looking for that later. The it does. I saw initial reviews from it are very positive, which is good. Breaks certainly the trend line for your previous D&D movies.
Yeah.
So yeah.
And every trailer I see, I think, yeah, this, captures the tone pretty well.
Yeah, that's to me, that's the key is do you make something that is not just generic fantasy and it's tricky because D&D is different things to different people depending on what the game at your table is like. But I think part of that is don't take it too seriously because I don't think anyone takes D&D seriously all the time. And I think they've got that part figured out. So
Yeah.
another trailer that came out this week. I don't know if you have any affinity for Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. There's a new trailer for that, which I don't know. I was pretty excited about it.
I didn't realize it was going to be an animated one.
Yeah.
Somehow I thought it was another live action. But yeah, it's animated in a very interesting style. It kind of,
yeah.
I mean, I don't want to compare everything to Into the Spider-Verse.
Yeah, people keep comparing it to Into the Spider-Verse, and I think that frustrates me a little bit because I think it's just not your standard animation style.
Yes, I think that's what,
yeah. I think if I worked on it, I would be really frustrated if people are like, "Oh yeah, it's just like that." And it's like, we're doing our own thing.
I think people just don't know how to do it. Well, it doesn't look like a Pixar film.
Yes. So, and I don't know. I appreciated the Ninja Turtles in a variety of their forms. They have been reinvented a million times, as often as perhaps too many times, as many times as the market will accept it. But I've enjoyed them in many forms. I actually used to live down the street from the studios where the Ninja Turtles comic was created, which it existed as a comic before it became an action figure and Saturday morning cartoon and movie empire. And one of the two creators of the Ninja Turtles went to the school I went to as an undergrad. So, but yeah, scenic Northampton, Massachusetts.
I'm sure I've told you this at some point, but did you know that we didn't have Ninja Turtles?
Yes, I do know that famously. That the word ninja evokes violence or somehow is too something. So you have hero, is that the correct word?
Yeah, so there was a moral panic about
nunchucks, basically
ninjas and nunchucks and any kind of easily reproduced by a small child martial arts.
I do know. So Michelangelo, who is the youngest of the Ninja Turtles, or you might know him as the orange one, uses nunchucks traditionally, which but in a lot of especially the media that they were making for children, so like the Archie comics version of Ninja Turtles and the Saturday morning cartoon version of Ninja Turtles, I guess they phase out the nunchucks and he just has like a grappling hook for a while because nunchucks are dangerous. Which I always thought was funny because it's like Leonardo has swords, but I don't know why. Explain your culture to me, James. Why are swords not dangerous, but nunchucks are?
I
defend Scotland.
I mean, I'm not. I will put this one on the general UK rather than Scotland specifically.
Well done.
It was blame England. That's a sort of default Scottish position on things. I don't know what it was, but it was like the thing is, if you ban something and tell small children that they must not ever find out about ninjas, all you're doing is just making
they're going to learn about ninjas on the street, people. Yes. If you don't teach ninjas
tell
in school,
your children about ninjas, and they can talk to you about them at any time.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, so it was like everybody knew that the cartoon that we were getting was censored and renamed into Teenage Mutant Hero Turtles. And I've had a strange fascination with nunchucks and ninjas ever since. And then at some point, the UK moved on to whatever the next panic was.
Moral panic was this Thatcher? Is this who we're blaming for this?
I mean, most things can be blamed on her, but I would need to look up the
Okay.
relevant dates.
Fair enough.
But yes, I mean, almost certainly everything bad was down to Margaret Thatcher in some form or another.
It's convenient to have that as just as a system,
Yes. So yeah, I the thing was, like, so I watched the cartoon and I was probably a student, I was not a child.
We're all students, James, of life.
So I was probably slightly old for it and don't
Mhm.
I mean, I remember watching things like the Dungeons and Dragons cartoon and all that stuff that I have slightly more affinity for. So I
Mhm.
think the Turtles were slightly later, but I have seen all the movies and I will see this one.
All of the movies. There's a lot of movies.
I
There's
think I have seen them all.
because there's I think there's 4 of the kind of goofy live action Ninja Turtles, and then there's a CGI one, and then there's 2 I believe 2 Michael Bay ones, or at least Michael Bay
Yeah, I
affiliated. I don't know
certainly
if they're both his or if he produced them or what, but which I don't care for. I feel like and I think I only saw one of the Transformers movies. I was never hugely into Transformers. I enjoyed Transformers, but I kind of feel like, I don't know, the Ninja Turtles movies, like I think I have too much emotional investment in the Ninja Turtles, I guess. Did not ruin my childhood, as some people would say, but I was like, I don't think you understood anything about what the Ninja Turtles were like, what makes them like enjoyable. Because this movie is like just so angry and boring. Like there's no joy here. And that's what kind of excites me about the trailer for the new Ninja Turtle movie, is that it looks silly and they look like actually teenagers, and I don't know, it seems fun and it seems like it doesn't take itself too seriously, which I think is important, because literally people, they're Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. They're not, and you're making grim dark Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. I don't know.
I think I have seen the decaying heads of the Michael Bay animatronic turtle things.
ILM or somewhere.
Yeah, I think I don't want to. ILM certainly had a lot of decaying heads, because Slimer was there looking not very well. I think that maybe they. I don't want to say that ILM did the turtle heads, but yeah, there's definitely the pictures of the very decayed looking heads around, because foam does not keep for a long time.
It's not meant for a lifetime.
So yes, if you are going to be buying on eBay the
Heirloom.
any movie props, yes, they're not built to last.
So James, I think I figured out what piece was missing. I have my lovely little kind of battlement for my tower here. You'll notice one little part of the crenellation that's I'm gonna have to like move my desk because I think it's under that. I'm gonna put that here. I have been rolling through these. I'm not sure if I should open a third bag. I'm not quite done with this one yet, but I love this little tower, and it's got, I kind of skipped past it, or I didn't say anything because we were in the middle of stuff, but there's a lovely little golden bell inside the tower, and it's yeah, just you can see I don't know if it shows up on the camera at all, but
yeah, I can see
there's
it.
a little bell in there. So delightful. I assume that you probably had some of the Ninja Turtles was very popular, and there was a whole swath of kind of knockoff or inspired, not indirectly inspired by Ninja Turtle related properties, that tended to be for animal type creatures, and or a collection of animal type creatures. I don't know if all of those made it across the pond, though.
I'm trying to think of, I mean, do any come to mind immediately?
Let's see what comes to mind. There was Biker Mice from Mars.
I am aware of them.
That I remember specifically? Biker Mice from Mars always sticks out in my head because there was at some point, I know, some kind of kerfuffle in where some TV channel was counting Biker Mice from Mars toward their requisite number of educational programming hours. They suggested that it might be somehow science related because it had the word Mars in the title. So
Did it have a moral at the end? Like
I can't speak from experience, but I suspect it did not. Maybe it did. Maybe it had a very important this, and this is why you never go to Mars
on a motorbike.
Yeah, it's very dangerous.
You should always wear a helmet.
Yeah, wear a helmet. Well, now I can't. I don't know what's going on here. There's another piece I can't find. So this is on me, people. I may have dropped multiple pieces. I'm gonna check. I have my little baggie of previously extra pieces left over, and you know what? My little bag of what was left over at the end of each build. I think it's gonna help me out here. Because there's totally a piece that's going to fit on this smokestack. Oh, actually, it's not. Oh, no. Is it? Yeah, it's the right piece. Okay, perfect. So there was Biker Mice from Mars. There was Cowboys of Moo Mesa. I could not tell you. I remember that. I think a lot of them had kind of alliterative, singy-songy kind of names, kind of like Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. I could not tell you anything about Cowboys of Moo Mesa, except that I believe that the main characters were cows.
I was going to ask
mutant cow. Well, I mean, they made it not mutants with a capital M, but cow creatures that ride horses. I don't know if maybe they were in some kind of space type setting, but yeah. But there were a variety of things I think that felt like how can we get ourselves some of this turtle money and sell action figures?
I have literally never heard of this.
Yeah. These are important parts of your education that you're missing out on.
Wild West Cowboys.
Oh, thank you. Are you doing research?
I am.
This is dangerous.
Wild West Cowboys of Moo Mesa, and the cow is initials -boys.
Wait, so the cow is
it
like
must
an acronym
stand for something? Yeah.
Oh, it stands for something. Wow.
Apparently
everybody loves the people reading Wikipedia. I genuinely like the people read Wikipedia parts of the conversations.
So COW stands for Code of the West.
Oh, that seems unnecessary to be an acronym, but okay.
Yes, and apparently everybody got, what is the word they used? Cowmatized.
What?
Because I cow met a comet. Yeah, anyway, I have not heard of this. It did not make it here. It was on television from 1992 to 1993, and it was created by,
it spanned 2 years.
And it was created by the artist Ryan Brown, who was known for his work on Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles.
Oh, there you go. Get that turtle intern over here and turn us out some more things. This was from I was gonna say a specific era. It may be all eras, but an important era of Saturday morning cartoons where everything was, a thinly veiled toy ad.
Also, every character name is a terrible pun.
A terrible pun? Are you going to read some of these terrible puns to us, James?
Yes, I am. So we have Cowlamity, Kate Cudster.
I don't like that.
No, I don't like that. We have Lily Bovine. It's not really a pun.
I don't think that's a pun. That's just using the word bovine.
And we have Buffalo Bull, who I'm not sure if it's a buffalo or a bull.
I would guess a bull, but I don't know.
Mayor Oscar Buloni, Sheriff Terrible.
I don't like that.
And apparently, and like every single one of them is like, like Sadie Wow Cow or Horrible or whatever. And then we have the character of Barney Finkelberg, who does not seem to be
cow-related pun.
Cow-related, and is voiced by Tim Curry. So
what? They got Tim Curry?
Yes, to do some maybe non-cow related person.
So this is like an early young Tim Curry who needs cowboys. He needs that animated voiceover money.
I mean, like he was born in 46. Mm, he was himself 46. I
Okay.
feel at this point he was probably I don't know if he was doing the kind of like Command and Conquer games and
Oh,
things
I
at
remember
that
that now.
point. But yes, so well,
Wow.
I am pleased to be educated about some Saturday morning cartoon that I have no
I think
knowledge
we're
of
using,
whatsoever.
I think that our use of the word education there may not hold up to legal scrutiny.
This video stream counts as part of the educational programming.
For the incomparable meeting, now we can take some kind of unearned tax break.
Yeah, that's the one.
Yeah, finally. You're welcome, Jason.
Yeah, I mean, like my Saturday morning cartoon stuff, it was kind of, I think, like standards, Thundercats and D&D and He-Man and She-Ra and all that sort of stuff. But as we've established, I'm slightly older.
It's true. There's no way to quantify it, but it is true. So, all right, this is the last step of this build, and I skipped the step, so I'm coming back to it. Is that we get to build a little flag with a little lion motif on it, and it goes on the very top of the tower. If I can get it into the notch correctly, and let me adjust the tower a little bit. I did the so you can see it. They did. I'm a little concerned their attention to detail with what direction the flags are blowing does not seem physically possible. So I may adjust that on my own to be a little bit more.
I don't know if the architecture.
I don't know which way the winds blow in this world, but
if the wind hits the castle in a certain way and the architecture, it kind of like
just
goes
all and the one of the last steps here, I was that they had me add various little green trees and little flowers and whatnot to this area where I'd previously been storing all the minifigs. So, yeah. And this is, as expected, the end of this book. It basically, ends with like it did end with it had me install the little kind of vegetable stand that I built at the very first step on this little secret hatch here that leads down to an underground layer. Yeah, and the last thing is basically go to book 2. So I think I'm probably a little more than halfway through, but I don't know. But it has been a delightful build preview of what the other side of the castle is going to look like. This last 2 bags here was mainly just kind of, I feel like, aesthetic touches versus structural, building up the top of the tower here and putting in this roof here. But continues to be delightful. So I do always, as always, the number of pieces I have left at the end is always like a little worrisome to me in terms of like, how many things am I supposed to have here? Also, I think this little lamb does not. Oh, there he goes. Okay, I got a couple pieces left here. They're gonna go in my bag of random pieces that have been hanging around for this whole build. But yeah, that's where it is today.
Well,
James, is there any other important business we need to cover? So,
I don't know. I mean, yeah, I have no exciting news. If we do these on a regular cadence, the number of things that have actually happened.
The number of things that happen week to week for us are less so. But
I released some software. I released updates to PCalc.
Would you like to announce what software you updated?
Yes.
Is it PCalc related?
It was PCalc. It was actual PCalc, and Jason requested a feature which I finished while he was away on holiday because he was in New Zealand, and he requested a thing that would aid him on his trip, and I had it finished by the time he came back. So,
so just in time for him to plan his next trip.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So yes, that was my work thing for this week, and other than that, not a lot.
Someone asked possibly quite a while ago. I apologize. I was not watching the chat. Someone mentioned Street Sharks, which is totally in that thing. I don't remember. I don't know if I've ever seen the Street Sharks show, but I remember ads for the toys. Street Sharks feels, in fact, perhaps the most closest to Ninja Turtles of the things we mentioned, because Street Sharks were basically like, they were just anthropomorphic sharks. And I think they were dressed kind of like, I don't know, punk hoodlum type, and they were street sharks. And Jay Trussell asked, does SWAT Cats fall into this category? I don't know enough about SWAT Cats. I believe that from, again, existing in America and watching other shows, that they wore cats. Possibly one of them flew a jet, and the other one was like the mechanic. I don't know if they were really SWAT, like, special weapons and tactics police versus guys who own a plane and do the stuff. Yeah, and Ray mentions that adolescent radioactive black belt hamsters were an unofficial spoof of TMNT and had minis produced them. It came out in '86, and of course, it's important to note I always enjoy the things that were kind of like parodies of Ninja Turtles. Ninja Turtles themselves, not everyone knows this, were basically a parody of 80s comics that were overly dark and grim and gritty, which I always, again, I feel like, like Michael Bay totally missed that. It's like they in the very first comic, like there's like a canister of mutagen and it like bounces off somebody and then like goes into the sewer. The person it bounces off of, it's like a parody. It's a direct parody of Daredevil's origin story, right? Where Daredevil gets like hit in the head with a thing that causes him to go blind, but also gives him some extrasensory abilities, and then later becomes a killer, well, not killer, but a superhero. And even specifically Daredevil, and perhaps people have seen the Daredevil TV show know this, Daredevil fights the ninjas the hand. The Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles fight the ninjas the foot. So, yeah. So people have made things that are a spoof of a thing that was intended to be a spoof, though, yeah. So.
I can recommend, there is an article on CBR.com called 20 Crazy Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle Ripoffs.
Oh, excellent.
20 similar things, including Samurai Pizza Cats.
Oh, I remember Samurai. I enjoyed Samurai Pizza Cats. I don't know if that was an American production or not, and so I don't know. Samurai Pizza Cats. I would encourage people to go to YouTube and watch the Samurai Pizza Cats theme song because it's pretty out there.
It was an English adaptation of the.
I think it's a Japanese animation that's heavily. I'm sure it's hacked to bits and redubbed. But yeah.
Much like Battle of the Planets, which is the canonical one from my timeline. But yeah, there are indeed yes, from the alternate timeline that and yeah, apparently Bucky O'Hare and the Toad Wars.
I think there was a maybe not bad, but there was I feel like an early video game based on Bucky O'Hare, or maybe I'm thinking of a different green space-oriented rabbit. I know that Bucky O'Hare is a green space rabbit. So yeah. According to my very casual Google searching, Bucky O'Hare has some connection possibly to the Micronauts. So wow. Yeah.
Yeah, so there's one that looks absolutely terrible, which was called Snailians.
I do not know Snailians. I do not recognize Snailians.
I feel we could have a whole quiz round, which is like real or made up. Yeah,
there's that's an inconceivable round. We'll send this to Jan. Real or fictional 80s thing. I think of it often. One of my proudest moments in game shows, I believe it was for I should remember it better. Anthony's game show, where I basically had to describe a show without using the name of it and things like that as quickly as possible. And several 80s action shows with my partner, Kelly, that I had never seen, but was, just familiar with from, existing in America in the 80s. So, because I was not allowed to watch anything that had kind of I would say military themes to it. So for example, I've never seen G.I. Joe and was not allowed to have G.I. Joe toys or whatnot because they're too militaristic. But Ninja Turtles, that's just good old fashioned American.
We never got
stuff.
GI Joe in the UK that I
I
know
feel
of.
like that would I don't know if it translates well from because it's
I
Yeah.
have a vague feeling that there was like, because we had Action Man, who was like kind of the military figure,
Mhm.
and he was basically a dress-up doll that you could get
Mhm.
different outfits for. So like, oh, he's an
Mhm.
astronaut now, or he's a SAS or whatever. And I have a vague feeling that there was something like there was a range of toys that got like repurposed over here.
They do a lot of that. It's I don't know if it's ingenious or demoralizing, but that happens a lot with toys where basically, they have a mold for something. And I always remember the first one I kind of became aware of. I think I was relatively young when there was like an Ewok Village playset from Return of the Jedi, so in the early 80s. And then they totally basically just took that set and repackaged it about 10 years later as a Robin Hood Prince of Thieves. Their headquarters is up in trees, just like the Ewoks, enough so that we can reuse this mold and not develop new things. So they will do that wherever they can to swap things around. So yeah, there's a lot of I remember when the Justice League and Justice League Unlimited cartoons were airing. I don't think I have any toys from that. I was in college by that point, but there were a lot of toys from that were like, we have just used the same torso. There's not a lot of variations in body type among members of the Justice League,
I mean, that's fair.
Yeah, Flash, Batman, and Superman may all have the same pectorals. So
they all go to the same gym.
We just drop a different head on them and give them a different paint job, and kids will never know. So yeah.
I mean, that's fair.
Yeah. Well, we've learned a lot. We've covered some very important business. I'd like to thank people for watching and tuning in. I'll remind you that if you feel like making any kind of contribution toward me, you can go to GiveTonyMoney.fun, which is my Ko-fi page, where both is a place that you can easily send me a few bucks in the form of buying me a coffee if you're interested. You can also see links to past Lego streams, and I've been dropping in links for other podcast appearances and whatnot I've been doing. There'll be in about a couple hours, Dan's producing it right now, a new link to the latest A Complicated Profession, where Tony, Dan, and Kat talk about The Mandalorian. Why did I refer to myself in the third person just then? That felt weird. But yeah, so I'm trying to channel my slightly higher level of free time into making some stuff. I've also been making some things that are more professional oriented, not just nerd stuff. So I've been making some videos and news posts that are related to higher education. If for some reason that's of interest to you, in addition to Legos and Star Wars, I'm assuming right now that the overlap is one. It's Tony, and I'm okay with that. So those live at a different place. So. James, thank you for hanging out with me and building castles. Where I'm halfway there.
Yeah,
So,
I mean, like we thought we'd never see the day, and
yeah,
here
I've dramatically increased my pace this month because otherwise, yeah, it was never going to happen. So, yeah,
you need to finish this Lego set before they release any other Lego sets that you might want.
There's stuff out there. It's like that Lego TIE bomber that they released. That's pretty cool. I can't get that until I cannot buy another Lego set until I finish this Lego set. So
yeah, I think that's the rule.
Yeah.
Give Tony money. I have a job, so don't.
Not
give
fun.
Me money.
If you want, no pressure. Asking for money is super weird. I people who do that for a living, whether they're raising money for their business or working in development for a nonprofit, like that is a powerful skill that they have developed. So good on them. So
yes,
all right.
Marketing is never the easiest thing of yourself or
of yourself.
Else.
Gross.
Yes. So. It's like you want me to say why I'm good.
But yeah, I'm not. I know me. I'm
average at best.
Yeah, mediocre.